What's up guys, my name is Lauren and welcome back to my channel, and I am so excited for today's video because it is the first video in a new series that I'm starting on my channel. And that is the Big Sis Chat series. So basically I asked you guys on Instagram and here on YouTube to send me some questions that you might ask your big sister, and I will answer them like you're my little sister. Today I'm excited because I'm answering one of your questions and talking about something that's really been big in my life and something I've had to work on a lot, and that is money, fear, and shame when it comes to making financial progress. All right, so let's start off by me sharing with you the question that I received, and then I will share with you my advice. So the question was, could you make something talking about shame, doubt, energy to get started on this journey, and how to challenge those thoughts and fears? Actionable steps you took to recognize you weren't a total failure and that you could do it. You touch on this throughout your videos, but having one to watch on loop, LOL, would be so powerful for me and I think others too. So here is your hype video that you can play on loop when you are just feeling like, I can't do this, how am I ever gonna do this, like this feels too overwhelming, and you just wanna give up or not even get started. If you're not familiar with my channel or my story, my husband and I started out with several $100,000 of debt between a car loan, credit card debt, student loans, a home equity line of credit, and in January of 2020, we started our debt-free journey. So we are now in year 4 of our debt-free journey, and we have paid off over $130,000 in debt over those 3 years. I can tell you firsthand, when I was staring at that giant number at the beginning, having never been successful in paying off debt, only been successful in accumulating debt and getting in a worse financial position, it felt beyond overwhelming, and I had so many doubts and fears, and it was a really, really hard place to be. Now, 3 years in, I am a totally different person. My confidence in my ability to manage my money effectively, put it towards financial goals, make progress in all these areas, and get control of my financial life has skyrocketed. I just feel so good about where I'm at, and I just feel like I am the one who's making decisions, not that my money is making decisions for me. So let's talk about how we got here. How did we get to a bad financial position? Because if you're feeling shame about the position you're in, that indicates to me that you feel responsible for having done something wrong that you should feel ashamed about. And let's break that down a little bit. First of all, while it is your responsibility to get your financial life in order because no one else is going to do it for you, it may have not been completely your fault that it got this way. There are a lot of outside factors that impact how successful we are at something early on, okay? And everybody starts from the same place of knowing nothing, but along the way, we each have opportunities that either help us or hurt us in our journey to figure out how to manage our money and grow our wealth and pay off debt or not get into debt in the first place. So if you grew up in a home where your parents were not responsible with money, or they weren't successful in building wealth and they didn't have education themselves, you are already behind those who had J.L. Collins as their father. And if you don't know J.L. Collins, he is the author of my favorite financial book, The Simple Path to Wealth. I would highly recommend it. I'll link it in the video description, but if you want to read it for free, you can check it out at your local library. It's at least at my local library. And so he wrote this book for basically his teenage daughter to tell her everything he would want her to know about money, even when she wasn't super interested in knowing. He just wanted to put it all down in writing, so at the time when she was interested, he could have it all in one place for her, and then he decided to compile it into a book and share that so other people could benefit from that knowledge too. So unless you had somebody as a father or a mentor or some sort of parental figure who really knew what they were doing when it came to money, it's likely you were already set up for failure in a way because you weren't given the education you needed to understand money. In high school now, they're starting to require personal finance classes, but if you're not in high school now, that doesn't help you. We were not taught how does a car loan work? How does a credit score work? How does an interest rate work? How do credit cards work? How to budget? What is inflation? Like, we weren't taught any of these things. We were taught how to calculate the angles inside of a triangle, but we don't know how to budget our money, understand inflation, understand interest rates. And that's a problem because those are practical things that you need to understand as an adult that are fairly complicated and no one ever taught you. So just right off the bat, no one should ever feel ashamed for their bad financial decisions if they didn't have an opportunity to know better. Okay, so let's say you know better. You know how to manage your money. You know about budgeting. You had a role model. You had somebody who kind of showed you the way. even if you had all these things, there's another huge factor that a lot of people forget to account for in why you may or may not be successful in your financial journey, and that is your emotional stability. So emotional health and emotional stability is so tied to ability to make any good decisions in life, including decisions about your money. And whether you are an emotionally stable person, again, may be something that is completely out of your control to an extent up into a certain point of life. Because if you were raised in a household that was not stable, or even if it was somewhat stable or appeared to be stable or was financially stable, it may not have given you the emotional support and love and nurturing that you needed. And so that causes issues as you grow into be a teenager and young adult and adult that affect how you manage your money. So for example, a really common one is impulse spending to fill an emotional need. So you go into a store, you're not feeling well, you think if you buy something, it will give you that happiness that you're looking for. You buy it, you feel good for like a day or so, and then it really doesn't do much. And you realize you just wasted your money on something that didn't give you what you were looking for. Or maybe you're doing that and you don't even realize that cycle's happening. You're kind of unconscious about it for a while. So that's a whole other side of what happens with people with money decisions is your emotional health really impacts how you manage your money, and it's not just a math question. So I'm saying all this because I want you to realize that this is a super complicated issue that is tied to the very core of who you are and how you were raised and factors that are not in your control. So at some point, if you're watching this video, you're probably there. You've woken up to the fact that you are not happy with how you're managing your money and you're trying to make a change. And it's important when you're feeling shameful about how you got here to realize that there were things that impacted your life at a point where you weren't old enough or mature enough to have an effect on those things. And now that you're here, now that you're waking up to wanting to take control of your money, no matter how old you are, sometimes people wake up to different realities and things they've been unconscious to in their life in their young adulthood. Some people, it's not till they're at the end of their life. So no matter what stage of life you're in, if you're waking up to something right now, I think that's an amazing thing because you're becoming aware of something you weren't aware of before, and that is such an empowering experience. So like I said, just the simple fact that you're interested in this video, that you've made it this far into this video shows that you are looking at something that you weren't looking at before, and you want to make better choices and do better now that you're in a place to look at your money and try to take charge of your financial decisions to improve yourself to be in a better position going forward. So that's the shame side of it. Let's talk about fear. Fear is that voice inside of your head that says you can't do this. So one of the things you can do to help that is to ignore the voice and realize that voice is not the truth. The voice you hear inside your head that talks to you kind of involuntarily, that voice doesn't always say true things to you. That voice lies to you constantly. And so it's kind of a weird thing. You have two people living inside your head. You've got that little voice that talks to you that says, you're not smart enough, you're going to fail. And then you've got your actual you that's like, shh, I can do this. Stop telling me those things. It's kind of like your brain just creates these intrusive thoughts that are usually really negative and not usually like yelling positive things at you. If your brain just throws positive intrusive thoughts at you, you are set. You are good to go in life. You haven't made. But if you're like most people and that intrusive thought machine is just negative, you need to just realize that, okay, first of all, those things that your brain is saying, those thoughts are not facts. They are not true. They're just things that your brain is coming up with as doubts and fears, and you don't have to listen to them. Now, that's a really hard thing to do. It's really exhausting to be constantly not listening to your own brain and also to not be able to trust your own thoughts. And so part of what you want to do through the process of getting control of your finances and learning and educating yourself and getting practice at making better financial decisions is to be positive in your own thinking and get more of a routine of positive thinking to not have to spend so much energy fighting these negative thoughts that come into your brain that create fear in your ability to succeed. So one way to do this is through positive affirmations. Another is through journaling, through therapy. There's so many different ways you can do this. Just stepping outside and putting your feet on the ground and breathing in the sunlight for, 2 minutes, 5 minutes a day, like just taking a minute to do things like that really, really improves how your brain functions and your ability to stay positive. And another piece of it is if you've never seen somebody succeed in their finances, it may feel like it's impossible because you haven't seen firsthand, like, how does this happen? Like this impossible thing that seems like you could never have and never be. How do I all of a sudden like become that person and get that thing? It seems like such an incredible transformation, like an impossible transformation. But part of the great thing about this time in society is there's social media and there's a huge personal finance community, so many pages, so many Instagram accounts, so many YouTube channels of people putting their numbers out there, talking about their journey, talking about their successes and failures, talking about how they've learned along the way, and showing you exactly how they've paid down debt, made progress. I mean, my channel is an example of that. I've showed you from basically the beginning. We started our Jeffrey journey in January of 2020, and I started filming videos about our finances in like September of 2020. So almost the entire time I've been giving real-time updates, talking through everything, talking about how I feel. And so you have an opportunity right now to relate to other people and get an inside look as to how other people are actually doing this impossible thing that feels impossible. And then the last thing I would say about fear is I think the times I felt most afraid is when I didn't have knowledge. So if I don't know like where to get the information I need to accomplish something, I feel afraid. And then once I have the knowledge, it's mostly just about executing and being consistent on and like just taking action based on that knowledge. So again, the fact that you're here watching this video shows that you have a curiosity to learn about personal finance, to learn about how to be successful with your finances, to educate yourself as to how other people are being successful, and just grow your knowledge base in this area. So I would say knowledge is power. And if you're trying to overcome that fear, you need to educate yourself and then also stop that negative talk. As hard as it is, I know I have it too all the time. I still have to fight it all the time. It's gotten much better over the years as I've made progress, as I've learned to trust myself, but it still happens. And those two things, if you can just gather knowledge and stop that negative talk, you will be in such a good place. And just a side note, when it comes to knowledge about personal finance, this is not about intelligence. This is not about math skills. To be successful with your finances, you need to educate yourself on all these things that require simple addition and subtraction, simple concepts. It's complicated overall. It's a big, complicated system, but each individual concept is simple and you can put it all together and understand it. Anyone can. Not everyone will, but everyone can. And so if you want to, you are more than capable. I'm very confident you are more than capable of being successful with understanding all these things I'm talking about: budgeting, interest rates, credit scores, all these things. In the age of the internet, there's plenty of ways to access great information to educate yourself on these topics. I already shared the name of one personal finance book that I really enjoyed, Simple Path to Wealth. I also myself put together a debt payoff course that talks about from like A to Z how we started from zero with our debt payoff and in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt to how we got to where we are today. I talk about budgeting, debt payoff, investing for retirement, keeping a positive mindset during your debt payoff, how to track everything. I go into depth into all these things in my course. So that will be linked in the video description if you want to check it out as well. All right, so we talked about shame and fear and how we got into this bad financial position. Now, I also want to give you permission not to blame yourself, because even if you thought you knew better and even if you had some support or some knowledge and you still made a bad financial decision, we all make mistakes. Like, no one is expected to be perfect. And if you think you're the exception, like, get over yourself. You're not. I tend to do this all the time. Everyone else is allowed to make mistakes, but when I make it, God forbid, I am the most ashamed ever. Like, how could I have made that mistake? I, should have known better. I should have done better. Other people, no problem. Totally see how that happened. But when it came to me, nope, I don't give myself that same grace. So I'm giving you permission, just like I give myself permission, to let those thoughts go and not blame yourself and not think I should have done better. I had the resources, I had the know-how, and I just failed. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. And again, there's so many other things tied up in it. It probably isn't that simple. That's not what happened. But even if you think it was, I'm giving you permission to forgive yourself and just move forward bravely into the future. Because the thing is, it doesn't matter how your story starts. It matters much more how your story ends. I mean, who cares about how a story started? In fact, it's almost more inspirational when a story starts off worse and more embarrassing and ends up really amazing and the person has like made a total turnaround. So if you're in that bad phase, like, think of that as this is you have more room to climb to have your story end in a really inspirational way. So I am giving you permission not to blame yourself, but I am also saying it is up to you to take responsibility to make a change for the better, because no one is coming to save you. No one's gonna swoop in and start managing your money for you and help you, hold your hand when you're at Target and not sticking to your list and all the different things that you should be doing on a financial journey. No one is gonna be there to do it for you. You are it. You are it. You have to figure it out, and you are more than capable. You can do this, but you have to do this. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to mince words, it's going to be so hard. It's so hard to change these habits. Most people are not able to do it their entire life. Most people end up at the end of their life with no money. Most people end up impulse shopping their whole life. Most people have credit card debt. And you're here because you don't want to be most people, but most people aren't able to pull themselves out of these patterns. It is a very hard thing to do. The way I want you to think of it though, as you're struggling through this, one, I just want you to know it's going to feel hard, and that's a good thing. If it feels hard, it means you're pushing up against something that you weren't before and you're making progress, okay? So it's going to feel hard. The other thing I want you to remember is that I'll give you an analogy with exercise, okay? So when you go to the gym for the first time and you've never worked out before and you lift weights, you're going to have to lift a low amount of weight and do reps, and you're going to be really sore. But each time you lift that weight, you're doing a rep and getting stronger. And that's what you need to think of with anything you do with your money, where you're trying to do better, trying to learn, trying to budget better, trying to make changes or improvements, trying to pay extra towards debt. It is a rep. Every time you make a move with your finances to do something for the better, it is like lifting that weight one time. And the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. So again, when it comes to exercise, you can't go to the gym for 1 month and think your body's gonna be transformed. It is a long-term process. It takes months, if not years, to see results. And that's the same with personal finance. This is not an instant gratification kind of thing. And if you're looking for instant gratification, you're gonna fall off. You need to know that you're in it for the long term. This is a lifestyle, not an instant gratification thing. So as you're pushing through and you're making one little small decision at a time that's slowly inching you toward a better financial future, you need to know each time you're doing that, it's a rep, you're lifting that weight, you're getting that much stronger, it's gonna get that much easier as you go forward, and it all matters and it all helps you move you towards your ultimate goal. Just from personal experience, I'd say if you dedicate 12 to 18 months of your life to improving your finances, to making good decisions, to budgeting, to paying off debt as much as you can, to not taking on new debt, all the things that you need to be doing to move towards a better financial future, then your life will be changed for the better forever. If you can do it for 12 to 18 months, I think that you can really set yourself up for success, and a success that you could have never dreamed of for yourself. Now, I'm not saying you're gonna have everything figured out, because obviously, like, we're 3 years in and we still have $75,000 of debt that we're paying off, and we've got, an emergency fund we want to build up, and we're still behind on retirement. We still have goals. We still have progress to make. But what I'm confident about now that I wasn't 3 years ago is that we will get there, because we're on the path. And it doesn't feel so hard to make those good decisions anymore. And it doesn't feel so hard to know what decisions to make, because I've spent years amassing the knowledge that I needed to move myself forward and get us to the place financially that we ultimately want to be. So that is it for this video. I hope this hyped you up. I hope you feel excited about your financial future and the potential you have there. If I can do it, you can do it. At one point, not that long ago, I had $30,000 of credit card debt, okay? So if anyone screwed up, it's me. And now I've made changes, I've figured it out, and I've moved forward, and I feel so amazing. So as hard as it is to figure this stuff out, it is 1,000% worth it, and I am so excited for you, and I know you can do it. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Big Sis Chats. I can't wait to see you in the next one. If you like the video, give it a big thumbs up, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.